All right, so we're recording again. My name's Luke Angstadt. This is the Business of Esoteric Knowledge and Wisdom channel. I am an author. I'm the author of the book, The Musings of De La Pew. It's a 20-year investigation into the nature of the universe, the nature of reality, God, human beings, and how they are all related to each other. You will find links to my book and also some spoken word videos that I also did for that are on YouTube. You will find these links in the description page. So after you click subscribe, you'll find the links to my book and also some videos. So today what we're doing here is I have my guest Bob from yesterday. We're going to pick up where we left off in the conversation before. We are using the Zoom 40-minute format, and we got cut off actually mid-sentence last time. So right now I was just going to summarize where we left off, and then Bob can can introduce himself to our audience, and then we're going to pick up in the conversation. But actually, let me back up a little bit. Before we summarize where we left off, I'll let Bob make an introduction, and then we'll pick up with the conversation. So, Bob,
hey everybody.
How you doing?
Back again to continue the conversation. Yesterday was my first time doing it, and I really enjoyed it talking with Luke, and hopefully people enjoy listening. And I just got to tell you, Luke, that I almost feel like this is therapy, dude, because we have so much stuff inside of us that most people don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And I felt pretty good after talking yesterday. Like, yeah, I'm doing this again for me, whether anybody listens or not. Me and you are having a conversation, and it's helpful. That's all
I'm trying to build content right now, and I want to find somebody who can possibly pick up this channel, but I can't do it all. I mean, I can't do the videos, do the production, and then market it and sell it and do everything else. I mean, I'm not a tech wizard, so there's going to come a point where I have to find someone who believes in what I'm doing, and if they don't, well, then this was just a fun exercise for myself and the people that I brought on the show, and then we talk about our lives. But I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
So Bob, I guess just to summarize where we were at before, I mean, when we got cut off mid-sentence yesterday, we were talking about how, people realize that something is profoundly off with the official story. I think we were talking in particular about the shooting in Uvalde. And what happens is that when we say, okay, I agree with you, I mean, something is profoundly off with the official story. And when we see this mountain of circumstantial evidence that just completely decimates the official story, and we say, well, here's a possible alternative. Perhaps the government isn't doing what they say they're doing. I mean, we're not stomping our feet. We're not flailing our arms, jumping up and down. We're just trying to have a civil, intelligent, thoughtful discourse with people and providing them with a possible other alternative and saying, hey, with all the circumstantial evidence, it certainly points to, sinister behavior, from government sources. And people are like, whoa. I know something's not right here, but I don't want to go there. And I guess that's where we got cut off mid-sentence, Bob, yesterday. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to pick up from there.
So we were talking about the shooting, and my brother's a police officer, retired, but anyway. And so we were going through it play by play through texting throughout the day when the news was breaking. And and I knew the side he was going to take, because he just wants to see what he sees and thinks everything is normal. But at the end of the day, everything conflicted, right? Like the stories came out and nothing made any sense. And I said, and would kind of get on me, like, what do you, whatever. And I said, I just want to know what the hell is going on. So he sends me a screenshot from his computer that shows that there's been 30 school shootings this year. I never knew that, right? Because I don't really pay attention, right? I mean, I do, but like, whatever, a lot of stuff goes on and we're busy. So and he goes, we all want to know what the hell is going on. Like, look at this, 30 this year alone. And so he said, what do you think is going on? And like I said, we just went through hours of back and forth. How did the door get open? And now I don't know if you know it, I don't know but yesterday that story changed again. They said a teacher propped open the door to go get her cell phone, coincidentally, right when the guy was walking in. That's what the story was. Total BS. But now they changed that story. And I don't know what the new one is, but they said that's not true. So anyway, once again, so at the end of it all, he said, so what are you telling me? He said, you don't think it happened, like it was all just a play, or that the government was involved? And I think it could be either one, right? But to play it safe with my brother, I'm not saying it was all crisis actors, I said, I think the government's involved, and he couldn't even consider that. So he went back to nothing makes any logical sense how this thing played out. Nothing. But yet what you said can't be true. So I'm going to choose to believe a lie.
Yeah.
Because you almost know inside it's a lie because I'm more comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that lie. What you told me, whoa, man, if that's true, the government is in on this crap, the CIA, all these things, my mind is blown. I can't handle that. Yeah. So it's the cognitive dissonance kicks in with people and they're comfortable. And part of that reason is because it's not affecting them. And I would say to my brother, and I did say to him, and he didn't have an answer, if your child was killed in that shooting, would you accept this story, or would you consider possibly something else could be happening, you know? But the reality is, no, his kids weren't in there. And so he could have a disconnect with it's just a story because it's not beating on our door yet, you know? It's almost like giving, you know, and the whole agenda is they want to take our guns. Why? Oh, yeah. Why? Well, the government's bad. Oh, you know, they're not. But until the government's beating on your door, you're not going to get it. So, and I've told him before, and a lot of people, if you don't get tuned into what's happening now, you're going to fall for everything that they're throwing at us. And at the end of the day, you will be a casualty. So to the point of that with my brother, who's a police officer, said, I would gladly give up my guns, he said, if it would save a child's life. Well, do you think it would? And he couldn't answer that question. He knows it wouldn't, but yet in his head, he's so twisted up that he's willing, I'll give up my guns if it saves kids' lives. Mission accomplished, right? Like, how does that happen? I don't get it. Like I said, I don't hang around a bunch of idiots. Or maybe I do. I don't know. I didn't think that I did. But that's the truth. And that's a true story. So, but it happens everywhere.
Yeah, and the point, and a great illustration of this is like with the COVID-19 lockdown. How was it? Was it agenda? Was it? I know it's Agenda 21, but there was some simulation run in October of
Event
2019.
201. Event 201.
Event 201. So you're well familiar with this, and the same dog and pony show was done with the monkeypox too in 2021. Bob, weren't you the one who sent me the information? So in October of 2019, you know, Bill Gates, George Soros, all these other World Health Organization and CDC leaders get together somewhere in Europe, and they run the simulation in October of 2019. Should say if a viral global pandemic hits the world, I mean, what kind of globally coordinated steps do we have to take to lock down the world? And they did this in October of 2019, and you know, abracadabra, come March 2020, everything that they ran in this simulation actually happens. Yeah. And then the same thing is happening with was it in May of March of 2021 or May of 2021, where in May or March of 2021, let me slow down a little bit, where they ran the simulation with the monkeypox. And here we are, almost a year.
I think they did it. I think they ran the simulation in March of 2021 and predicted an outbreak of May of 2022. Lo and behold, first cases start popping up in May, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, the thing that I get from people now is like, oh, they're not buying it, you know, just like a lot of people didn't buy COVID. But I say to people, it doesn't matter if you buy it or not, or believe it or not. Look what they did to us.
Yeah.
They shut down our businesses. They convinced people to take a vaccine or they're going to lose their job. All these things. So you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, like this is so stupid, because you can't ignore it anymore. Whether
it's left the realm of theory, right, Bob? It has left the room of theory, and it is in our faces every day. I mean, lots of people that have been studying the global conspiracy have been talking about how these lockdowns and a viral pandemic, a planned viral pandemic, has been in the offing for decades, and lockdowns have been in the offing for decades. And you can laugh at it all you want, but now this theory has become real, and we are all experiencing it every day of our life. So you can't turn a blind eye to it. All you can do is you can either acknowledge the fact that something is profoundly off with the official story, or you just go into denial mode. And you know, like, you know, Nietzsche talked about the will to power being maybe the strongest force in the universe, that this absolute will and drive to control and to have power. But I think denial I think the power of, I mean, the force of denial is just as strong because you, to your point with your conversation with your brother saying that something else is up, they just do not want to hear it because they are in complete denial because the alternative is unthinkable. The idea that the government is actually that not just the United States government, but other various countries' governments are in collusion to take over the world is
Yeah.
unthinkable. But we see it, right? We see the tangible evidence every day. We see the breadcrumbs, not even breadcrumbs. We see it every day. And when you try, and what's startling to me and you too, I know, is that when just by attempting to have this conversation with people, they shut you down. It's like you can't even get your foot in the door, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
It makes them very
And
uncomfortable.
I think that, like yesterday, I told you about the guy that I met from Bosnia at the restaurant place, and also
Exactly, where he said that you
the
Americans,
security guard at the VA hospital.
yeah,
As Americans, our level of discomfort is, oh, I'm hot. Let me turn the temperature down a degree because I'm hot. Oh my gosh, it's 73 in here. Let's get it to 71 like we like it, right? Like that's discomfort in America.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
And I agree. I'm with it too. But it's we don't know. Like I say yesterday, everything happens over there. That's just the American way, and we've been very blessed. But I would say that the conspiracy side of me would say that our government has done this to the rest of the world. Now that they've conquered the rest of the world, so to speak, not really, and this is just broad brush here. Now they've turned on their own people because, we've got the central banks everywhere we want them in the world, but now we have to bring down the United States so that, and it's not really our government. Our government's a puppet government. They all are. There's a handful of global elites running it all, and it goes back to, like you say, centuries and centuries. And think about it for a minute. And I talked to my friend neighbor over here at my shop, Albert, who's a deep thinker like yourself. And we talk about like how things got started, like even to say in this country or in the world in general. And if there was a handful of people that had a crap ton of money, right, and came up with a plan to do things, how's that ever going to change? It's just going to evolve into the next step and the next step and the next step. So whether it started out that way or evolved into this, and we can argue that to be nice, we could say like, it's almost like some of these Christian preachers, right? Like say a Jim Baker, and I would say like, well, he had good intentions, but he ended up like this. Could be true, or it could be he never had good intentions, and his goal was to just build millions of dollars out of his congregation. But the end result is the same, right? Whatever his intentions were. So maybe these global elites were always like, oh, we just want to make some more money and, basically have the upper hand on people, like be in charge, ego or pride, right? We want to have more than everybody else. That's all. But that got out of hand. And then technology comes along and it's like, wow, what can we do now, right? Like if you have an evil, sinister mind, which obviously people do, well, anything can happen. And so it's just evolved into here we are, right? And then and part of the idea is there's too many people. And I say that's BS because there's a lot of I've learned years ago, there's money and resources in this world that nobody should be hungry. Well, why are they? Because that's the way they want it to be, right? So if you're going to act like there's too many people, there's not enough resources, we got to get rid of the people to save the planet, I call BS, because we already know that we can do amazing things with technology and money to all get along, but they don't want that. So, do you know about the Georgia Guidestones, I'm sure?
Oh yeah, where they want to bring the population down. Is it $500 million or $500,000? What were they? What is
half of 500 million, so half a billion, 500 million people. And recently at the World Economic Forum, they had people speaking on, we got to get rid of people. There's too many people. We're ruining the planet, and it's an acceptable death, so to speak, because like I remember somebody compared it to a cancer. Well, you're going to kill the cancer, but you're letting the body live. And so now, we got to kill a lot of people. Well, letting the earth live, and ourselves, of course. They won't want to say that crap. But
Ted
that's true.
Turner, Ted Turner, obviously
Yeah.
the founder of CNN in the 1990s, he's on record saying that he thinks 95% of the population should be cold. I mean, that's what he said.
In the
And
90s.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the 90s, he said that. I'm sure you're well aware of that. But yeah, it's you know what some things are very basic in life, Bob, and it comes down to a point where it's a war between good and evil, and people at an individual level have to stand up and say no. We're not going to take it anymore. No, I'm not going to go along with something that I know is insane and idiotic, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't, because I see our world going one of two ways. I mean, I see it going one way where it's an entire enslaved global society where you have less than 1% of people of the ruling powers ruling it over everyone else, and 99.9% of humanity is crawling on their bellies for the rest of eternity. Or people are going to wake up and they're going to reclaim their own sovereignty, their own freedom, and their own wills and their own free wills, and they're going to live their lives and say enough is enough. And
Yeah.
I feel like it could go. It's like a snail it's like a snail walking a razor's edge, and it could go either way here. But one of those two things are going to happen, because we're not going to stay in a. I mean, obviously, life is always changing, and it's not going to stay the way it is. Obviously, I mean, that's understood. But I mean, it's going to go one way or the other, right? I mean, we're going to have either a global awakening here, or the whole planet's going to be enslaved practically. That's what's going to happen. And I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, I've been trying to have these conversations with people for the better part of 20 years, and it's gotten me practically nowhere. I mean, I meet people here and there like you, and that inspire me and give me energy and enthusiasm to keep going. But by and large, most people they won't even entertain the possibility of having a conversation that considers that the official story isn't true. They won't even hear it. It's like that is the wall. And that is an impenetrable wall, like the Iron Curtain, where you will not get through it. So I don't know what it's going to take, Bob. I mean,
I think pain and suffering.
Pain, yeah.
But
that's what it is. I mean, they're going to have to lose their home.
At the same time, yeah. I also think that when that happens, if you're not prepared for that, you will surrender.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're doing in my house, and I'm not saying I got to figure it out by any means, but I'm trying to come up with as easy as not easy, nothing's easy, but to be like, hey, no matter what they do, we don't need anything, right? Because what do we really need in life, right? Food, shelter, and clothing, right? That's it. The basic necessities. We all think we need all these other things, like my business, your business, whatever, because we need to get income so we can have these things. But so I get my mind geared up to because like you said, it's going to go one of two ways, and we're going to come out of this one of two ways, right? But it's got to end. And so I look at it like when the pain and suffering come, when people make the decision, where are we going to go? You know what? I'm staying at the house, lock my business down, turn my electricity off, whatever. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, I'm going to survive.
Yeah. We
got some chickens. We got a crap ton of food supply. We have ways to cook our food and now will it be fun? No, I'm not I'm just typical, right? Like I'm used to my air condition, my heat, all that stuff. But in my mind, I'm ready to say bring it. I'm not budging. And I don't care what you want me to wait in line for that cheese because there's no food anywhere because we ran out of diesel fuel in this country. So we have no trucking. There is no food. Well, you know what? I got 500 pounds of rice and beans, man. And I know how to cook and I can make some mean fried rice. And that's what we're going to do. Fun? I don't think. I'm not looking forward to that if it comes. But I think we have to be prepared but not just say, oh, we're going to say no. But what happens when you do say no, right? What happens when they say, we want you to get a universal vaccine passport to be able to, I don't know, get government food because the food supply crashed and shit's hitting the fan, but we're here to help. What is it? Hegelian dialectic, right? I'm sure you're familiar with that, right? Mm-hmm. Problem, reaction, solution, yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you're not aware that they are creating the problem, you'll take the solution. But if you know they created the problem, like COVID, we can go back to, or all kinds of stuff, anything. We could talk hours. you will gladly take the solution because you think they're here to help us. But if you understand the fact that they've made all this crap happen, and if you take their solution, it can't end well, right? Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
human nature would say, if you're going to create a problem for me and give me the answer, well, what the hell's going on? Really, that's all. And we don't know what's going on, but it can't be good for us. Like leave us the heck alone. That's all I want. Leave me alone. That's
I mean, we have to, and to your point about these self-sustaining communities, I mean, there is a large groundswell of interest in that too. There's things called freedom cells by a guy named Derek Brose. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and I'm not terribly I just know him from a friend of a friend. But this idea of the self-sustaining communities, the preppers, people that are kind of almost like living like the Amish. I mean, they're going off the grid. They're not living within these rigid strictures of modern society. I mean, we're fast approaching a point where the misery index of going along with everything of jumping through all the hoops that the government's forcing us to do. That misery index is fast approaching a fever pitch where people are going to be doing, Bob, and I thought of it too, where because we're going to have our self-sustaining communities, we're going to have our rice and our beans and our garden, and we're going to raise some animals, and we're going to come together with like-minded people in our community that want to live on their own live on their own terms and be free, and so that's a real possibility too, and I see it happening right now as well.
Well, they call that a parallel economy, right? You hear people talk about that all the time. Andrew Torba from Gab was one of them who first started it. Like, back when things got started, he said that is our only way out. Because when you think about what's coming, we can't win. Not yet. Eventually, maybe so. Especially when people used to think like, when all the corporations started doing things, or the NFL, and it's like, well, we're just not going to support them, and they'll find out. But no, we find out that they're all in cahoots together. It's more like the corporations run the government, not vice versa. And so now we're realizing that, it doesn't matter what we support or don't support, it's still happening. You know what I mean? It's not based on whether I go buy a ticket to the football game or not, which I won't. But to that point, most people still will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, if I got to get a vaccine to go to see the Panthers play, I'm getting it, man. Like, I got to have my football. You know what I mean?
No, I do. Yeah.
And it's pathetic.
It is. It's pathetic. It is. Yes, it is.
So, but so I think our biggest enemy is not saying enemy. I don't mean it like that. But other than like, the powers that be in the government is our neighbors. Because if we all got together, not our enemy. I shouldn't say that because my neighbor's not my enemy, but it will come down to a point where you're either with us or you're not. And I'm not saying that I'm going to do anything harmful to you if you're not with me, but I'm also going to distance myself from you and build my own tribe because we have a mindset and we're going to take care of each other. And if you don't want to be a part of that, I wish you the best.
Yeah.
But I'm not going with you. I'll see you later. Good luck.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. Yeah. So, I mean, we are seeing parallel. I mean, the parallel societies of people that there are people that are going deeper and deeper into the mind fuck of government mind control and the brainwashing and believing the official story. And then the people that are coming out of it or have been out of it for quite some time. I mean, that separation, the gap between the two is just, it's just growing and growing. I mean, it really is. I mean, we are living in two parallel realities too. I mean, those who see through the matrix and those who, believe everything they're not even necessarily believe everything they're told, but think that the overall structure of the official narrative is true. And sure, there's incompetence and sure there's corruption, but they pretty much go along with the basic story, right? They say that, on 9/11, I mean, sure, the official story doesn't make sense and there's a lot of uncertainty here, but the basic gist of the story that 19 jihadists that couldn't get a 1970 Cessna plane off the ground were able to go, 2 for 2 in the busiest airspace, in the world. And, maybe there was incompetence with George Bush and Donald Rumsfeld. And I understand that, Donald Rumsfeld said that he didn't know that Pentagon was hit until 15 minutes later because his secretary had to tell him. And, gee whiz, that doesn't make any sense. But, there's incompetence and corruption, but the official story is true. And you and I both know it isn't. But those people that even like fall into that, where they have the uncertainty, like your brother who said that, hey, this doesn't make sense, but the alternative is unthinkable. The people that still, they're suspicious of the alternative. They're suspicious of the official story, but they're still willing to go along with it. You have those people, and then you have the people that just buy it whole hog. And then you have those of us like you and I who are like, there's we see through the bullshit, we see through the matrix, and we just find it completely unacceptable. I mean, the gap between those two is unbridgeable, even at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is, right?
And it's getting worse.
And it's
by the
getting
day.
worse. Yeah, it's getting worse by the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Another shooting yesterday, right? I'm sure you heard about it.
I
So
heard
once
that. Where was it? I mean, and you know what, Bob? It gets to a
Midwest
point
in a
where,
hospital.
where was it again?
Midwest, someplace in
Midwest,
Oklahoma. I'm not positive,
Yeah.
but somebody, I didn't see that. Somebody sent me last night. I had to work late last night, but in a hospital. But the
Okay.
funny thing is, not funny. There's nothing funny about any of this. But
Yeah.
you know, people have said that I listened to the next mass shooting will be in a hospital. Well, gee, and it is. So
Next thing you know,
are
yeah.
these people just like pulling crap out of a magician's hat, or are they thinkers who sort of, you know, former military people, former CIA people, people like that who know what's happening and know the way the you know the strategy, so to speak.
Mhm.
And it happens, and so you just got to think like, you know, what the heck? And now I hear back to the, you know, the crazy stuff. They want to tear down, and I'm not saying it's true or not, but they want to tear down this elementary school.
Oh, I
in
heard
Texas.
that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
heard that, yeah.
Well, why is that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Right. So,
Yeah.
well, whatever. But I think go back to what we were saying before is until it becomes personal in people's life. My kids are the perfect example, right? I pulled back because it just causes arguments. So I try to make my points in a different way. But at the beginning, when things were happening, they're like, why do you care? They would say, it doesn't affect you. And I'm like, I understand that, but you don't get it. You know what I mean? Because it will eventually affect you. And they're like, well, it doesn't now, so who cares? Because they're young. I get it. I feel sorry for the younger generation because, and I'm glad I'm old. I wish I was older, to be honest with you. At this point. I don't know. Anyway, but they're young and they got their whole life ahead of them. And so I think like, wow, like, and I do try to hold back because they are in for something they have no idea what it is, and it's not affecting them right now. And so part of me says, let it go, let them enjoy their life. But then there's part of me as just a dad for sure, but also just how I am with people, like, it's not going to help you. Like, it's almost like I enjoy my life. I'm not a miserable person. I'm not worried about nothing. I have a very fulfilling, joyful life. But at the same time, I see what's coming, and
Yeah. I mean, it's like a bunch of people on the beach partying. It's like a bunch of people on the beach partying, and you can see the tsunami coming, right? And there's like there's a 100-foot wave coming, and you say, hey, wait a second, maybe we should leave and make preparations because I see this 100-foot wave coming. And people are like saying, hey, it's not here yet, so we're just going to keep partying, right? I mean, that's what I mean. It's like, hey, that wave's still coming. Yeah.
And I also think that nobody can let go of the idea that, like we said yesterday, the old is gone. It's gone.
Yeah, it's not coming.
It's not coming back. And nobody can wrap their mind. And I get it, because if you really think hard about it, like I almost feel like you have to have a plan, right? You have to be positive, whatever that looks like. You can't be stupid and just imagine pie in the sky. But at the same time, if you don't have a idea on how you're going to navigate through what's coming, well, I could see how you could be in denial, because other than that, you're going to lose your mind, right? And be useless. You won't want to leave the house. And so, like you've said a lot, knowledge is power. And so to get to the point where you're trying to, you actually do understand what's going on. And not only that you understand it, you're doing something about it. So I got to admit, like when this thing first happened, like I told you, when it was like a light bulb came on in my head when we got locked down, and I lost it, right? Because nobody else believed me. And I'm like, damn, like weapons, food, like man, like there's no time to waste. Like granted, 2 years later, I'm still doing the same thing, but yet my mind has shifted, like, just prepare, like you have time, right? But how much time, we don't know, but being prepared. And so over the past 2 years, we've been doing different things. Like I said, we got chickens, we got a garden. I hooked up with local farmers, bought a half a cow, things like that. Other people, like-minded people. Now I feel like, and we're never really in control, right? No matter what we think, but I feel like I got a grip on stuff. And so I'm like, there is no panic, there is no fear. What it is, and we'll just deal with it, like, right? But most people, I don't know, they can't cross that line. They would just sooner say like, no, that's not going to happen and I'm good. But when it does happen, they become a big part of the problem, because like, I think you probably know this, like, but back in World War II, possibly, when they had what was called, oh my gosh, what was it called? I forget, but it was gardens. The government told people to plant gardens because we're having a war. We're having, we're trying to send food to our troops. There's not enough food here. Plant gardens. I don't know. I forget what the word was, but I don't know what they called it, but everybody planted gardens. You think everybody was worried? Oh my gosh, we're going to run out of food? No, they were like, hey, we see what's coming. We're preparing.
Mhm.
But what do they do now? Do they say, hey, they don't say anything.
Mhm.
They don't say anything. And so the conspiracy people say, oh, we have food crisis coming, well, whatever, but no one else says it, so it must not be happening. And so when it does happen, people are going to freak. And so they become part of our problem. Whereas if everybody, think about this, if the media just came out for 1 week and told us the truth, we would all be like, holy shit, but what are we going to do?
Mhm.
Let's all do this. Let's get a plan.
But
So
and this would end, Bob, too, because the reason that
Yes.
the people, the powers that be, are doing this with cloak and daggers and behind the scenes and all the deception and everything is secretive is because they know they're weak. I mean, they really are ultimately weak. I mean, that's why anytime you have a sinister plan and you do it behind the scenes, you do it secretively, because they know that it's about perception. It's about the manipulation of perception, and they realize that once, if and when, and I'm going to say when the moment arrives when they lose the power of manipulating perception, the game is up, because once people need to realize that they have the power. They have to realize that they have the numbers. I mean, we are talking about 99% of the population are the people that are not in control. But if they just wake up from this slumber of mind control and brainwashing by the government, they wake up and they see what's going on, and that they see that they really are being enslaved. The game is up, because the people in power, they don't have, I mean, they are such a minuscule percentage of the population.
There's 7 billion
And this is
people on
what
the planet.
gives me hope, Bob, is because I know it's not a question of lifting heavy rocks up mountains. I mean, it's about waking people up between the ears. I mean, it's not a hard, physically laborious job. It's just communicating with people and putting the information and the knowledge out there, and just continuing with trying to have the conversation to wake people up, because this is all about the manipulation of perception. That's what this is.
No, isn't the right terminology for what you just described, like, and I'm not sure, like collective knowledge? Do you know? Like you
Part of it, yeah.
Where at the beginning we're all whispering behind the scenes, like, oh, like the vaccine is bad, and people are like, what are you talking about? Like, how could that be possible? And then little by little things happen, and people are still in denial. But eventually, the evidence is everywhere, and people are just talking about it in the open, which used to be a secret. So once they get to that point, that everybody is like, are you kidding me? Like, they're gonna pull this shit again with us?
And what you're describing is like the concept of like of an unpopular, like either a new or an unpopular idea. How first it's either ridiculed. I don't know what the steps are, but it's either ridiculed, it's dismissed. But eventually, when people do come around to it and they wake up and then they accept it, they're like, okay, then it just becomes self-evident and understood, and everybody's like, why did we see it in the first place, right?
It's like starting a business.
That's what we want.
It'll never happen. And then once your business succeeds, or being whatever, famous, a rock star, movie star, whatever, singer, once you become oh, I knew you could do it. Yeah, you want to be your buddy, right?
Exactly.
Because they see it. And so, but part of my concern is, like I said, it's going to get rough.
It is. Hey, Bob, we are at less than 1 minute here, so we're not, as long as we're not cut off.
We'll pick up tomorrow or whatever, but yeah, it's going to get rough. And so I just hope that people are prepared to make the right decisions and not give in to what their solution might be, because
there comes a point where people have to stop laying down when they know what they're doing is wrong. When you know what I mean, right? When what the government's telling them to do is wrong, they lay down but they have to stop doing that ultimately. So, hey, Bob, I think we're at less than a minute. We're probably like 30 seconds. I think this would be a great place to wrap up and pick up either tomorrow and then very near future.
Yeah, we'll talk.
All right. Hey, thanks, Bob. Hey, you have a great day. I'll see you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.